What are the primary pitfalls associated with change management? You don't have to give a complete answer. You can give me a piece of it, and we can piece it together if you'd like. Skipping steps. Okay.
Just the pace of change.
Pace, you're going too fast.
Okay. Skipping steps is one. Pace. All right.
Fear of the unknown.
Speed. Watch out. Change in the way. Flying
Fear
through.
of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown. Can you elaborate, please, on that?
Well, I think that people are afraid of change. They are
Yes.
very settled.
Yes.
And they don't know what to expect.
Yes.
Just, very basic.
That is very true. We are creatures
we're
creatures of habit.
Absolutely.
We are.
And that cycles
Yes.
down to, having everyone on board. You need
Uh-huh.
to have everybody on board with the change.
So developing consensus, or the absence of consensus, is that what you're saying? By the way,
The absence of resistance.
not every change, and not every leadership guru does believe that consensus is necessary. They do believe that you have to develop at least maybe a majority, sort of
Right.
like this general movement in that direction. There's a book, the name, I think the author has a long last name, it might be Italian, I'm not sure, but the book itself is called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. You might want to get your hands on it. It's a nice read, it's not dense, it sort of has this narrative flow to it, and it recreates change management processes through the perspective of a Silicon Valley upstart that is having some challenges, having some issues. And there he talks about that you don't necessarily have to have everybody, if you try to gain full consensus, you probably will never get anywhere, depending on the size of your staff. But at least you have movement in that right direction. Okay, so I'll use the word consensus for now, but with that little introduction, hopefully we all understand what we mean by it. Anything else as to why we work?
Not revising, like
Okay.
taking pause and looking at as you're going.
So
through
no
the
stop
phases.
and reflect.
Right.
Okay. Maybe, I wonder if that's part of pace, or if that's just, it may or may not have to be, but I'm going to connect them a little bit because they can be related. The idea of not pausing. All right, so I'm sort of committed to this process, and I'm a bull in a china shop. I'm going to make this happen by hook or by crook. And sometimes we do need to take a step back and see, is it actually what we envision it would be? But typically speaking, it's not going to be. In some way, shape, or form, of course, depending on the size of the program and what it is that you're trying to accomplish, it could really morph into something very different. And taking the time to really step back, think about, well, what did we envision? What is it becoming? Are we comfortable with this new direction? Can we live with it? Do we want to bring it back? All these questions you could be asking yourself, of course, as you go. Yes, did you want to say
I was
something?
just going to say not enough transparency.
Okay,
So
okay.
If
So-
you're not open and
Right.
transparent with what's happening.
Okay, so I'm going to write transparency, but I'm also going to maybe orally add communication as well. Could be something to consider. We'll talk about this later, right? But people will fill voids with their fears in most cases. So if you don't fill the void with information and with good information, even if that information is, we made a mistake, but we're aware of our mistake and this is what we're doing about it, right? You might have heard in the news today that Bluebell Ice Cream is recalling all of its products, Michelle, all throughout the country because of a concern over some type of bacteria or some contamination. Now, I've never had Bluebell ice cream, but I'm sure it's delicious, and it's certainly very costly to do that. But they acknowledge that there is a problem, and this is what we're doing about it. So if I was a customer of theirs, I'd feel confident in their leadership to know that when they are putting their products back on the shelf, they've done their due diligence to make sure that everything is in order the way that it needs to be.